My name is Alexander Garcia, realtor and entrepreneur.
My name is Carlos Gonzalez, and I'm the Real Estate Amigo. This is a podcast where our mission is to inspire and empower our Latino community.
And welcome to Latino Talks.
Hey, what's going on? What's going on, everyone? Welcome to Latino Talks. We did it.
Finally, man.
We finally did it. This is something that we've been working on, for like a year?
I mean, I think you've been doing it for about a year, and then you kind of brought me in a couple months ago, maybe?
No, I think we both, because when we did like the first pilot.
Yeah.
And, I'll let you go through the rundown of, how...
you want to tell a story?
Yeah, how everything evolved. But, yeah, I am Carlos Gonzalez, the real estate amigo, with my brother, Alex Garcia, a realtor and entrepreneur. And welcome for you, Mom, that, you're listening to this. Our moms are the only ones listening to this first episode.
Come on, man. We're not that
bad. Welcome to episode 1. This feels very Star Wars-y.
Episode 1.
Yeah. Which one? Good, which one was episode 1? I mean, because I know that you're a Star Wars fan.
I am,
so.
man. Yeah,
so,
yeah.
But I mean,
it's all backwards. Yeah. So episode 1.
Is it Hope Awaits? No.
It's man, don't put me on the spot, bro.
No, it's one of the latter ones, right?
Yeah. So there's the first 3 were episodes 4, 5, and 6, and then 1, 2, 3.
Something about the clones, right?
Clone Wars, I think.
Clone Wars. Yeah. Well, anyway, this is not a Star Wars podcast.
Can be,
but we'll do the Latino Talks version. One thing that we forgot to add in the intro. By the way, I think that's a really cool intro, bro.
Yeah,
I think it's our intro that we filmed and everything.
We put some work into it, man.
We put some work.
Also had some help.
Yes, exactly. Alexis
helped us out.
Our video guy. And by the way, shout out to Trevor in the mixer back there. Maybe who knows? Maybe we'll bring you in and have you interact with us, Trevor.
Come on.
Yeah, but it was actually really cool, and the whole idea of the intro for the podcast, I was kind of, because we did a lot of the shooting at the university club,
right?
And I was kind of nervous. I don't know, like I was feeling like we were selling drugs, man.
Because we weren't supposed. I don't think they allow that.
Yeah, I don't think they allow that.
And so me and Carlos, you and I, we talked about it before. We're like, should we ask for permission, or should we just get in there, film it, and just get the hell out of there?
Right.
That's what we did. We got the hell out of there quick.
Yeah.
But we did get a lot of eyes like
what the heck are these?
But
guys
if we
doing?
would have asked, though, they would have probably said no. Liability and people don't want to be filmed. Blah 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 blah.
Right.
But came out good.
Yeah, it came out great. Like we say, es mejor pedir perdón que pedir permiso.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that I think we forgot to add, which I mean, I'm okay with, to the intro, that this is also going to be in Spanglish, right? Because sometimes I can't find the word in English, man. So I'm gonna have to rely on my Spanglish as much as
all good, brother.
I know if my uncles are hearing this, they're like, why would you ever do that? But
we're in San Diego.
It's San Diego,
Southern California,
man.
Yeah,
exactly, the home of the California burrito. Yeah, so I'm really excited. We're here at this really nice studio. Definitely from the original idea, I think we've taken it up a significant notch. So walk us, for those of those people that are listening, walk them through, how the whole thing started.
Yeah, well, so I mean, originally we were only going to do real estate. Stuff, right. Information, and just kind of really be specific to realtor audience. And we did. We interviewed a couple of people.
Right.
We did some Zoom calls, and then put it together. We were doing all the editing ourselves.
Yes.
And then we just kept thinking this can be better, man.
This can be better.
This can be better. And so then we took it into an office space, right. And then we brought all of our equipment, which we have some of it. We don't have all these nice gadgets and stuff.
Right.
And then we started running into other problems. Our iPhones were dying, and it was just like laptops, and then lighting was bad. So ultimately we said, hey, let's just take it to a studio.
Let's do it the right way.
Let's do it, where we hire somebody, and here we are, man.
No,
here we are.
It's an
and
amazing
it's great.
studio.
It's a great setup.
Our photos are in the background.
We should get a Sharpie marker and draw some like French mustaches and maybe put a unibrow and unibrow.
No, I thought you were gonna say let's get a Sharpie marker, and because I mean, for those of you that are listening, and probably for those of you that are seeing this, you probably can't see it, but Alex is bleeding.
No, you didn't, bro.
He's bleeding. I don't know from where, but I see some blood in his shirt. Maybe he got into a fist fight before coming in here.
No, I told you. Why are you telling everybody, man? All right, so I actually, the story is I have this stupid bandage and tissue paper in a ball because I cut my hair shaving.
Yes.
Because at 41, sometimes you get old man little whiskers in your ear.
It happens to the best of us.
I just cut it too hard. I was a little bit of in a rush,
Right.
and it just wouldn't stop bleeding, man. And like it was literally dripping. I don't know if you could see in the camera there, but it was dripping down here.
Yeah.
I didn't have time to change my shirt.
I saw you, and I'm like,
That's
man,
why.
Alex,
That's why I wanted to sit on this side because I don't want people to see it.
I'm like, Alex just got into a fight or something like that, I'm glad that it was, but yeah, that area. So I mean, I don't know why we're going down this rabbit hole, but my wife, she has these tonsils that she uses for her eyebrows, and I stole one of them.
Oh, you're picking your you're picking your eyebrows.
No,
now, huh?
that's the one that I use for my whiskers.
Okay. So you have your whiskers too. Okay. I don't feel so
Yeah.
bad. All right.
But what I don't understand is those guys that have like the trenzas. That's one of my pet peeves. It's like, dude, like you have so much hair coming out of your ears. Like, you can do a braid. What's going on? Do some self-care.
Yes, absolutely. Man.
Yeah, but anyhow, plowing ahead, going back to the topic.
Yes.
This is something that we've been working on for. I think we started around March last year when it was originally going to be for a real estate audience, and then we're like, you know what? It's something that it's gonna sound kind of cheesy, but it's almost like as if it was like a sort of a calling per se, and say, you know what? Let's take it out of the real estate space because we really don't. We don't want to just impact, our circle within the real estate industry, but we really want to bring inspiration, as we said in the intro, and empowerment, not just to those within our industry, but to everyone within our community. The stay-at-home mom, the guy that works at the taco shop. Make sure that everyone identifies, because as Latinos here, and we'll jump into this more in detail later. As Latinos here in the United States, we face a lot of all sorts of different hardships. And
disadvantages, I would say.
Exactly, disadvantages,
Right.
And we want to make sure that number one, that we inspire and empower each other, but at the same time that we're there for each other as a community, because stuff that you're going through, maybe I'm going through that as well,
Right.
So that's why I also felt in my heart that it would be cool, and I do appreciate you jumping on board with that as well, and I think that's also because you were feeling something like that as well, right?
Yeah, no, definitely, man. I just think that my thoughts were we can first of all reach a larger audience.
Sure.
And I think that's way cooler, to be able to reach more people, and then just be able to have more people to interview.
Yes.
With more intriguing stories.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? From different backgrounds and just different, different type of entrepreneurs and business backgrounds and stuff. So, but going back to the disadvantage part, I want to be clear about one thing. And I say disadvantage not to throw a pity party on our
100%.
ethnicity, on
Right.
Mexican ethnicity, but to really help others understand that it's a real thing. There are disadvantages. Some people falter and get they don't really. How could I say it? I think the biggest disadvantage, and I'll speak from experience, is being a first is firstborn American here in
Yes.
the United States, and I know you are too.
Right.
Or you were born in Mexico, I think, right?
No, yeah, I was born in Mexico.
You were born in Mexico. Okay. So you're even more Mexican than I am, man.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, my father was born in Mexico, and so there was a lot of things that he didn't know.
Of course.
Growing up, and I would ask him like, "Hey, can you help me with my English, or can you help me with this or that or history?" He doesn't know,
Right.
and that it doesn't make him not a smart man. It just
Right.
means that he was educated, obviously, in a different country and knows different things. So and so there are disadvantages, and it's a real
Right.
thing. So being able to tackle those and understand them, and then be in a space like we are today,
Mm-hmm.
where we can help others. I'd say even more so people that are our age or even younger. And just educate them, empower them, help them understand. Because I guess the way I see it is, if I could go back and give advice to my younger self,
Right.
these are the things that I would tell myself.
And
And
what are
that's
some-
what we want to talk about.
Yeah, and going on that, what are some of the disadvantages that you personally faced? As being first, the first American born,
Right.
with your dad being from Mexico and all that.
Right. Well, there are some, but I think it's also how you react to it too.
Right.
Because in the beginning, so I'll give you an example. My English was very choppy.
Gotcha.
And I know I look white as hell, man. But my father has a lot of Spanish blood,
Right.
and so that's part of it. My mom is also half white and half Mexican.
Okay.
So but my English was always very choppy growing up, and I used to get made fun of a lot.
Right.
One example, and I always tell this. So my dad used to always say, "glove department" instead of the glove compartment.
Right.
And so I was always saying that in elementary and middle school and like part of high school, and I would get made fun of. And that's just one word, but there's a lot of them. And so not that that's like a crazy disadvantage. This is a very small thing, but it obviously has an impact on how you grow and how you talk and how you communicate, how you express yourself. And other things is like, with homework.
Right.
I didn't have a lot of help from my parents with my homework. I had to figure that out myself. Now, of course, there's other ways. There's other things you can get tutoring. So there's always means if you look for it.
Right.
But I think the big problem with most, not all, but most Mexican with our culture, and I say this with love, there's a lot of pride in our culture with the
Right.
men.
Yes.
We have machismo.
Right.
And so we don't like to ask for help.
Right.
We're taught to, hey, do it on your own, figure it out.
We don't ask for
Tough up.
directions either.
We don't ask for directions,
We'll get lost for 2
especially from
hours.
our wife. We're going to figure that crap out ourselves.
Yeah.
So that's a big problem, that the pride issue, because we don't ask for help. So, that's probably one of the biggest advice that if I could go back, and just help myself, educate myself, I'd say, hey, ask for help. Put that pride aside. Who cares what your dad taught you or this and that? My dad taught me a lot of wonderful things.
Right.
But pride was one of them too.
Gotcha.
And so that certainly didn't help. So I would say those are probably two things. There's a list of them, but those are two things.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and it's funny because as you were mentioning that, I remember that the first time that I did something here in San Diego. It was like a 6th grade camp, and I remember that we were at this it was somewhere in Hamul, and anyway we were like, it was like lunch hour, and I'm drinking a soda, right? I'm drinking a soda, and I finish my soda, and I go back and I go to the lady and I'm like, can I have a rifle?
A rifle?
Yeah, instead of a refill.
Oh, okay.
And she looks at me like, "What? Like we don't give you. We don't. This is not part of the program."
I'd like to shoot up to school now, please.
Yeah, she gave me this look, bro. Like,
Yeah.
this guy's about to go nuts on everyone.
Yeah.
Can I have a rifle? And all I wanted was a refill of my soda. But yeah, thinking on
So words too. Words.
Yeah,
words
exactly.
There's huge language barrier, man, for sure.
Exactly. For me, one of the biggest things was, like, for example, when I was getting ready to go to college and the whole financial aid situation, I wouldn't understand it. And because I didn't really understand the concept, and nowadays there's advisors for all that kind of stuff.
Right.
College planners. They're called college planners. And, you know, I didn't know that a college planner existed and that would help me. And so I would go to my, you know, my local, you know, high school advisor, and, you know, they would offer me help, but, you know, not, you know, not that much. But, you know, definitely that's one of the reasons why we're doing this, you know, because, you know, we are first generation, but I think, you know, coming to this country and getting familiarized with everything, it definitely takes some generations, you know, to really, you know, get all the bolts right, or you know, tie. How does the saying go?
The bolts.
Yeah, tie the bolts. Yeah, exactly.
See, bro, you got it, man. You already got the.
I was getting ready to go. I was getting ready to go in Spanglish mode, but the thing is that, you know, this doesn't. You know, it doesn't only affect the first or second generation Latinos. It affects the third and the fourth generation, because you know, for example, like when I first came over here, you know, it was, I think when I moved to the U.S. and by the way, I almost moved against just because my mom moved over here, but I you know, I wanted to go back, you know, because there's this big misconception about, you know, all of us in Mexico just dying to come to the U.S. And no, like I hated it for several years.
You hated the idea of moving to the U.S.
I hated the idea of moving to the U.S. and I hated it here. You know, I just, it was such a culture shock for me, even though I was hanging out with the Latinos. It's just like, all right, you know, you're Latino, you know, you come from Mexicali, go hang out with the Latinos. And it's like, hey, what's up? You know, it's like, Jesus Christ, we have nothing in common, you know?
You're saying the like you and the Latinos in the U.S.
Yeah, exactly.
You kind of even clashed between them.
Me coming from Mexico and trying to connect with the Latinos here.
Got it.
You know, it was very different.
Real.
But you know, it was one of those things that when I first but I was gonna say something before that, and
sorry, man, I cut you off.
I completely forgot. You know, one of the things that I was very surprised by was that, you know, there would be all these Latinos that they wouldn't speak Spanish, right? And, you know, Juan Perez, you know, and you know, like you could tell that the guy was a Latino, right? And in the beginning, I was kind of like blown away by that. I'm like, wait a minute, you know, how come this guy doesn't speak Spanish? But then, as I start getting more and more familiar with the Latino culture here in the U.S., which is completely different from the Latino culture in Mexico, or, you know, whichever country, whichever Latino country you're from. One of the things that I notice is that, you know, one of the reasons, because you were talking about homework, one of the reasons that, you know, these guys don't speak Spanish is because their parents, when they came over here, you know, and that's one of the things that I love about our culture, is that we're hard workers, man. I mean, we're gonna outwork anyone, you know. and they were, you know, their parents and their grandparents and their great grandparents, you know, they were hard workers, you know, and they were.
What do you think that is? Like, why do you think we work so hard? Like,
I think it's
like you don't see a lot of, like, you know, I've been to Mexico many times. You don't see a lot of Mexican homeless people. Like, you know, you do see people that are homeless. Actually, let me correct that. You don't see homeless people asking for money. Rarely do you see that.
I think
they're selling stuff. They're willing to wash your car. They're willing to hustle. My dad actually used to sell artwork as a kid. He was in a small little pueblo, a little town out in the little village. And he was a really good artist. He used to just draw little things, you know, and sell them at 10, 12 years old, you know, for street change.
Right. I think it has to do with something that you said, which is pride.
Okay.
I think we're very proudful. Prideful, yeah. And we come from.
Didn't mean to correct you, bro. I know you're Spanish. No. Your Spanish is way better than mine, bro.
No. I need those corrections. But I think it has to do with that.
Yeah.
And I think because you know, in Mexico we have a saying que el que. I'm like Chespirito, forgetting
hanging out with too many Americans, bro.
I'm forgetting.
You're losing it, man. You're losing your Mexican.
something related to, if you want the land, you have to work it.
Got it.
You know, so something along those terms. You know, that's the idea of the saying. You know, my grandma always used to have all these sayings, and you know, now I forget it, but you know, and so there's this pride that, You know, el que quiere esposa, el que quiere casa, que trabaje. You know, it's you know, working is such a big thing, and that's why, like, for example, in Mexico at least, you know, there's a lot of entrepreneurs over there. You know, there's a lot of guys that it's like, because if you go for your typical, you know, blue collar kind of job, you know, you're still going to be in poverty. Yeah. You know, so if you really want to do something where you're going to have at least like a middle class kind of lifestyle, you have to be entrepreneurial. Right. So that's I think that's one of the reasons why we are such hard workers. But that's one of the things that shocked me, you know, and I was like, well, you know what, that's right. You know, their parents and grandparents, you know, they're being raised, you know, these second or third generation Latinos or fourth generation, you know, they're being raised by the TV, you know, because their parents are you know, working as painters in the morning, and then they're doing whatever extra, you know, gardening in the weekends, you know, the landscaping company, stuff like that.
2 jobs,
at least
2-3 jobs sometimes.
You know, exactly, at least 2-3 jobs, you know, and for me, it was one of those things that I said, you know what, that's why it's you know, that's why that was happening. But that's also one of the reasons why what we're doing here with Latino Talks, because I've always wanted to be involved with the community, you know, with the Latino community to a certain degree. And, you know, there's all sorts of associations and different groups, and, you know, that are Latino driven or that are for Latinos. Right. But I've never really found my voice within that within that narrative. And, you know, thinking about the concept of Latino Talks, I think that's why it's so important, you know, what we're doing, because what better way to get involved and to be part of the community than to be a voice for the community, right? You know, what better way to influence, you know, be influential within your community than to, you know, be an agent of change within the community. You know, TD Jakes said that a microphone is way more dangerous than a gun. You know, you can do a lot more with the microphone, absolutely, you know, as opposed to a gun. So I truly believe that, and I feel like there's not a whole lot of voices for our community, and the very few voices out there are the ones that are telling our narrative. Right. When in reality, you know, we're all different, and we all come from you know, different situations, and the beauty of it is that even though we come from different situations and backgrounds and political views, and I'm conservative, you're liberal, this and that. At the end of the day, we're all a community, and many of the things that we're facing, you know, we might be facing the same thing. Right. You know? Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you, man. You know, and I think, you know, I also think a lot, like, another reason this is important, and I'm excited about this podcast, is because the Hispanic community is growing. The Hispanic population is growing significantly in the U.S., and it's going to continue to grow. However, we are still, the statistics say, that at least the census say, that we're still not where I think we should be. Right. As far as wealth, as far as education. 100%. Right now, I think we have 62 million Hispanics in the United States. That makes up 20% of the total population in the U.S. We're the second largest ethnicity in the U.S. right now, aside from non-Hispanic whites, which make up the majority. And then out of that, I think it's about 19% of the Hispanics have bachelor's degree or higher. Right. Non-Hispanic whites, twice that, 40%. Okay. So there's obviously some room for growth. Yes. We got to get those numbers higher. Now, of course, being mindful of some of the disadvantage. A lot of people are still coming into this country. So, but again, that should not be something, and I don't keep bringing it up to say that should hold us back, because I've seen a lot of amazing Hispanics who have stepped forward and have used that to propel themselves and say, F that. Yeah. I don't care, you know, if I'm first generation here, I'm gonna be a badass. I'm gonna work hard. I'm gonna get my education, and they flourish, man. Right. And it's amazing. It's a beautiful thing to see. Another stat is income, household income. Household income for Hispanics on average right now in the United States, this is a 2019 census, by the way, so it's a couple years old.
Sure.
Is 20%, is $55,000 annually per household.
Wow.
It's not a lot. And it's $75,000 for non-Hispanic white. So again, not to compare, but it's good to see where we are,
right,
and where we should be headed.
Yeah, exactly. And you mentioned that on the pre-interview or pre-podcast conversation that we were having. You were asking me, you're like, hey man, where were you yesterday? I saw on social media that you had to fly somewhere, and I'm like, yeah, I was telling you that I had to go to. We had a meeting with the client in San Jose, California, and I got to go visit one of my buddies that he works at Google.
Nice.
He's from my hometown.
Nice. Like an actual Google corporate office.
Yeah, he's
that's
like,
cool, man.
Yeah,
I've always wanted to go check those out.
He's like a VP over there.
What?
And yeah.
That's like a big Toys R Us for adults, man. At least from the movies that I've seen. I don't know if it's is it accurate.
I mean, I saw all the things that they all the props that they used, and I think it's called the intern or the internship with Vince Vaughn and I forget the other guy, Wilson. Dude. Yeah, hilarious. And so I get there, and that's one of the things. Like, I took a second and I looked around, and I'm like, dude, like, we're the only two Latinos, in this
really?
place. Yeah.
So it's predominantly.
Yeah, predominantly, all other cultures.
Okay. But it was a good mix of different cultures.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
And it's because of that movie. I forget what it's if it's the intern.
The intern. I think it is the intern.
Yeah, because of that movie, like, I'm like, oh man, it's gonna be mind blowing. And it literally, if you live here in San Diego, it literally felt like I was somewhere in Sorrento Valley,
Okay.
And it was very, they give you there's I don't have a drone, but there's like a drone kind of like character that is all over the place.
What do you mean, like an actual drone?
No, I'm sorry, like a droid. What are the
droid?
Yeah,
like a droid.
Yeah, exactly.
Like a little robot.
Yeah, exactly. So there's like a little robot, like the Mickey Mouse of Google.
Okay.
So you see that little robot everywhere.
And what is it doing?
It's just a prop. It's just
Does it interact?
There. No. It's just there. It's just like a little statue.
Gotcha. Okay.
And there's volleyball courts. And they have a slide. I was telling you about the slide.
Slide?
So it's
slide?
It's like like a 30-footer that you go from the second floor.
Please tell me you did it, bro.
No, I didn't do it. But
why?
But my buddy was like, "Hey, you want to go down the slide?" And I'm like, "Hell no, I don't want to go down the slide."
Dude, I would have gone that face first, bro.
But you slide right into the cafeteria, and they have different cafeterias.
To the cafeteria.
Yeah, it's like they're waiting for you with your burger. Like, welcome. Like, I mean, if I'm
That's
about
hilarious.
because I was seeing they have like pizzas, burgers, all that kind of stuff. I mean, if I know that I'm gonna eat a pizza, at least I'll try and go down the stairs just to say, all right, I'm gonna eat something heavy on carbs.
Yeah.
At least I'll walk over there instead of going on the slide.
Yeah, but then you'd never be able to tell the story that you went down a slide and ate a pizza
at the same time.
Or at the same time, bro.
Yeah, but it was cool, man, because there's all these cafeterias, around the campus, and as long as you have your badge, you can you eat for free. And they open early in the morning and they close like at 7, 8 o'clock at night.
Got it.
There's coffee shops as well that as long as you show your badge.
The badge is only if you work there.
Yeah, exactly.
So you didn't have a badge, right? As a guest?
I did. I had a guest pass. So my buddy was using his to order for the both of us.
That's pretty cool, man.
Yeah, and then there's bikes everywhere. And again, if you use your badge, you can actually use the bike and go.
Got it.
Because it's almost like Sorrento Valley mixed with Irvine a little bit. Like there's a lot of apartment complexes and stuff like that
right.
within the immediate area. So, I mean, it's nice, but, you know, the internship paints it, you know, way nicer. But, but you know, but at the end of the day, you know, it is Google.
I've always been so curious about that, man. I was like, is that movie real? Like, is all those props real?
Yeah. I mean, they are. Yeah, they are. But it was one of those things that, you know, what you were mentioning about the stats and you know, the average income and all that stuff, that, you know, I took a second and I'm like, man, it's so cool, but the goal is exactly what you said. You know, to see more, you know, more Latinos in every field. You know, I think I was talking to you about. I watched that. You know, there's all these Notorious B.I.G. documentaries. You know, all the time, right? And I was watching this one where Puff Daddy, he was putting together like a concert, so that like a concert to honor you know, Notorious B.I.G. And he's like, hey, this is not, you know, this whole concert is not about what you think. This concert is about Black excellence and showing everyone what Black excellence really is. Okay. And I was like, wow, like that is a concept that, you know, every single culture should really strive for, you know, excellence within your culture. Yeah. And, you know, me personally, that's why I was drawn to this, you know, because I really want to see that excellence within my culture, and I want to be an agent of change, someone that's going to help, you know, awesome. Someone that's going to help our culture change for the better, you know, because I think there's a lot of us that are in you know, I don't think I only speak for myself when I say, you know what, I'm in a position where I really haven't felt like I fit in with all these groups that supposedly represent Latinos, but I do believe that our voice has to get louder and louder and louder. Right. You know, what do you feel about that?
As far as what specifically? Just
about, you know, what we represent as Latinos, and as far as our voices and the need for our voices to be heard.
Yeah, no, I think it's important, man. I think that we need to. There's not enough voices that are speaking up. I really do think that. You know, I think we need more of like the Jordan Petersons and, you know, these guys. Although he's not Hispanic, obviously, but we need men like that. We need men leaders to step up. You know. Yeah. And I don't have all my shit together, man. You know, you know, I don't know about you, but I am. I work hard. But I tell you one thing, man. The inner work that I have done over the last few years has gotten me to a wonderful place. Right. But it takes struggle. It takes facing your fears. It takes being uncomfortable, and to grow and asking questions. Yeah. And so again, that's kind of what I hope that this really grows into is a platform where we can speak back to the community, share our stories. Not only our stories, but bring other very inspiring stories from other people.
Not necessarily Latinos, but
I mean everything. Obviously, this is you know, we're pushing it towards the Latino audience, right? But we want to bring all ethnicity, all cultures, and share their stories, because we can learn a lot from every ethnicity. Yeah, you know, it would be naive to just only speak to our culture. Of course, we're going to speak to them too, but we really have to understand, in order to function in a society and a community, especially in the United States, where we're a mixed cultured nation, we have to understand each other more. Yes. And we need to talk. And the only way you're going to do that is having conversations, you know?
Yes, no, I definitely
Vulnerable
agree.
conversations.
Vulnerable conversations, definitely. You know, I forget what, you know, some sitcom, you know, from the 80s, that there's these two guys that they witness a crime, and then they're like, hey, let's call the cops. And then the other one turns to his friend and says, you know, I'll just come up with the name Johnny. Johnny, we are the cops. You know? So it's one of those things where, we need those voices, you know, to step up, and you know, I'm willing to be, you know, I'm willing to be one of them, and I know that you too, you know.
Absolutely,
so I'm excited. Absolutely. I'm excited about that, and you know, I'm excited about what's to come, and I think this is something that we've been fine tuning for a while, because we really needed for the podcast to start having its own voice, and for its voice to increase and increase and increase to the point that we're like, that's it, you know, that's the voice. And at this point we're kind of, you know, it's like surfing, you know, we're just we're
riding the wave.
Yeah, we're
baby.
just riding it, you know.
That's
we're
right.
just
Yep.
we're just riding that voice and letting it letting it speak out
Organically.
you know?
Just organically kind of going with it and see where it takes us, you know.
Yeah. So
I know we've talked briefly about this, but what kind of people can you share with the audience, do you want to bring onto the show?
I mean, like I said, you know, and like we discussed.
What can they expect? What can the audience expect?
So as we mentioned in the in the intro and in the beginning, the whole, and you know, when you and I sat down and talked about this, the whole idea here is to inspire and empower.
Right.
And because of that, you know, the guests that are going to come on the show, you know, they're going to do exactly that.
Right.
You know, they're going to inspire us. But, you know, inspiration is great, but you also need to take action. You also need, you know, to empower yourself to, you know, take yourself to that next level, you know.
Right.
So we're going to make sure that we inspire you and we empower you at the same time, you know.
Right.
So anyone that's going to help us reach that goal, and you know, like, and that's what we say, you know, it's not going to necessarily be from a Latino background, but it's going to, you know, whoever our, you know, next guests are,
right,
they're going to come from a place where they're going to help us grow, you know, where they're going to inspire us and empower us. Because like I said, you know, we're a community, and we, one of the biggest things that we want to, as a culture of the podcast that we want to represent is that we're there for each other. You know, we're there shoulder to shoulder with each other, because, you know, we're probably going through similar things. Our families probably are going through similar things. And, you know, right now we're in a point in our country where it's so divided in so many ways. Right. You know, let's not be that. You know, let's unite, and let's be one voice, and let's figure this out and grow together to that level where we can be of, you know, Latino excellence.
Right. Having the uncomfortable conversations.
Yes.
In a kind and loving,
but
straightforward way.
Right. This is going to be a very uncomfortable podcast.
At times.
Yes, at times. Yes.
Right. Okay.
Yes, exactly.
Awesome,
so that's, you know, that's my take on that. What about you?
I think the same thing, man. I think you nailed it right on the head, man. I think, you know, the entrepreneurs, I think it would be great to bring maybe some political leaders here in San Diego.
Local leaders, yes.
Even some of the, you know, some of government workers, you know, maybe police officers.
Yes.
You know, people who have those stories to tell, man.
Right.
And just get perspective from different sides.
Exactly.
To really understand what's going on in our community.
Right.
So.
No, I agree 100%, man. Any final thoughts?
I think that's it, man. I think that pretty much wraps it up for the first episode.
The first episode, episode 1.
Not too shabby.
Not too shabby, guys.
How's my ear doing? Is it still bleeding?
It's your neck is red on the side.
Great.
No, just kidding. No, you're good. The bleeding stopped. So yeah, guys. So this is our first episode. We're excited to get this going, because I think this is going to be a very, very powerful voice for the community. So make sure that you subscribe. We're going to make sure that this is available in YouTube. We're going to make sure that it's available on the different platforms, you know, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, all those platforms. So share it with your loved ones. And, you know, if you feel like you don't fit in within, you know, different you know, parts of the community, you know, we're family here. So definitely, you know, we're here for you, and we're going to support each other 100% all the way.
That's right. Brother, it was good chatting with you.
Cheers,
Salud.
Salud.
And cheers to our first episode.
Yeah. See you guys next time.
Have a good one, guys. Take care. God bless.